Hey guys, how you doing today? It's awesome to have you guys here for this challenge, whether you end up watching this like in real time, like today, or you end up watching this challenge later. It's awesome to have you guys here. This is one of those things where it is timeless. So I want you to trust that you have found this challenge at the right time, and that whether you are watching it, like I said, live with me now, or I'm present with you on your own time, I just want you to trust that you are here to get something of value for a reason. So, I am going to just kind of lay down a couple of, things like the agenda for this challenge. Okay, so the purpose of this challenge is really to not be a quick fix per se, but to be um, I would say a jump start to your healing journey, no matter what kind of pain that you're dealing with right now. So whether you're dealing with like a physical, like chronic illness, like me, like I had to, or a more like emotional or mental pain, I've been there too, or any other type of pain. If you're at that point right now where you just feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm stuck, like I'm at a plateau right now. Okay. This is for you too. Your girl's been there. I think most of us have. And for people who are at that place where you're just like, I can't take this anymore. Like, I feel like I am suffering all the time, every day. Like, I feel like nothing's giving better and like something's got to give. This is for you too. Okay. So we have a lot of different people from various different backgrounds dealing with various different types of pain. And so I want to let you know now, I will be talking about mainly beliefs today and what is possible. And the reason being is because we are not taught in school, we are not taught most of the time. Many of us are not taught at home because our parents were not taught this as well. A lot of society does not really value the or understand the amount of sheer weight that your beliefs have on everything in your life, including your pain. So I want to make that very clear in today's. But then I also found that for me, when I was back in my like real bad low during the pandemic, and it wasn't because of the pandemic, it was because I felt like I was suffering and like something had to give. I had to go and see what was possible for me to even be like, huh, you know what I'm saying? So I had to really go and see what was possible for me to even be like, yeah, I can make those changes, because a lot of times I kind of focused on other stuff. So that is day one for the challenge, is really going over showing what's possible, something like a possibility that's different from where you are right now. Because I like to say, where you are right now, I don't care what the situation looks like, where you are right now does not have to be where you stay. So if you feel like you are stuck, if you feel like you are suffering, if you feel like there's got to be something more, you know, where you are right now in your headspace, that does not have to be where you stay. That does not have to be where you are tomorrow or the next day, the next year. So that's why I'm focusing on this for day one. So day two, I had to write some notes down. Okay. So day two is going to be more focused on strengths and intuition. So a lot of us have, again, been taught to point out all of the things that are wrong, all of the negative things that are going on. And so much so that we filter out and tune out all of the positive stuff that's going on. And you'd be surprised how much your life can change just by changing the lens. Like, that's literally the only difference between someone who is dealing with chronic pain and is still thriving versus someone who is dealing with chronic pain and you literally can like feel the negative, like heavy energy around them before they even speak. That's literally the difference between the two. So I want to really focus day 2 on that. Day 3 is going to focus more on other people and your pain and, like, your environment and things like that. Because while that is important and that does have a big factor in how you handle things and what you are exposed to and things, it's not the very first thing that needs to change for you to be able to rise above your pain. You know what I'm saying? Like, it starts within and then it goes out. Okay, so but it is a very important part. I don't think that needs to be ignored. So that would be day 3. Okay, day 4, we're going to go deeper into the key to healing that I have found has worked for me and that I've seen as a very common theme in the people who have cured the incurable, who have healed from chronic conditions that everybody else is saying once you have it, it's like, oh, well, all we can do now is just hope that it doesn't get any worse. With that energy, maybe a little less enthusiasm than what I just said, but with that energy, there are trends and common things within the people who heal from any sort of chronic pain or stop suffering than the ones that either they don't or they take longer to get to that point. And while I'm going to talk about some of that stuff today, of course, I want to really go knee deep into that on day 4. And then day 5 is all about doing things different. Okay, so I don't know. I don't really know how else to explain it, but once you have a different lens, once you know why you do what you do, and you start pinpointing some of these like things that are going on in your life that you're just like, no, we ain't doing that no more. I see you. I see you, you know. Um, it's very, it shapes how you respond to situations and what you do. So then your actions start to also amplify the results that you get. So that is the general agenda for today. Like I said, we'll be here for about an hour-ish, hour and a half. I do, for those of you who are on the VIP access, I do have, the Zoom call that we'll hop on over to after this live stream is done each day during this challenge. So that way you can get your questions answered. And even if you can't make it to that live Zoom call afterwards, I do record it. And so that way you can get those recordings, whether you sign up for VIP today or tomorrow, you get all 5 days worth, and you will be able to email me questions if that is something that is like an alternative, if you're not able to, be there live, or if we don't have time to answer all your questions. So if you're interested in upgrading to VIP, I just want you to know that it's available. I will put a link in the comments. So if that is something that is like really resonating with you, I will see you on the call after these lives. So first, let's just dive in here, and I want to really emphasize the importance of participating in this challenge. Okay, this is not a, oh, this is nice to listen to kind of thing. That's not what a challenge is. I really encourage you to fully participate here. So to start, I want you to repeat after me. I know it might sound a little weird, even if you're by yourself, but I want you to repeat after me. I see you. I hear you. And I honor you. Those words are very important, and I think that a lot of us don't hear that enough. I can definitely speak for myself. And I want you to not just think that, not just think, I see you, I hear you, I honor you. Write that down. And then I want you to go and imagine all the other people who are going to be watching this challenge and participating at a later time who are also going to be here that are saying the same thing. I see you. I hear you. I honor you. Those words really made a huge difference for me. And you know what I ended up learning is that there are a lot of things that we needed to hear from somebody else growing up that we didn't necessarily hear. And then we end up picking up and learning a lesson from that. And so what I found is a lot of people who are in pain or who are suffering or who are feeling stuck, a lot of people have a deep belief somewhere that they're not enough of something. Okay, that is a very major, it's a very major pattern that is really deep in the mind. And I want you guys to really know and remember that you are not your mind. So what I want you to do with, this is take a box like this by your head. And I want you to go and just set it to the side. Okay. That box is your mind. Many of us learn to identify with the mind. So if you have those feelings and those thoughts and those loops, that are stuck in your mind, a lot of people are trained to identify as that, like, I am my thoughts, I am my feelings, and you're not. You have a mind, and it's full of a bunch of things, some that are very helpful and some not so helpful. And see, the reason why this is important is because your body responds to what's in this box, right? Your body also responds to who you are, like your spirit, your soul. Have you ever had that feeling where, you're having this thought, again, that's in this box, right? That doesn't really line up with what you truly know is true, like in your spirit. And you have that clash, but because your mind is very loud, it's very noisy, it's full of distractions because it processes what we take in our day to day. That usually ends up being what we end up focusing on more. And when we give our focus to all of the stuff that's like overwhelming, all of these things that are painful, all of these experiences, some of which aren't even happening in the present, I mean, how many of y'all have been stuck in the past, and you're focused on things that were painful for the past, or you're stuck in the future and you're worrying about things that haven't even happened yet? Yeah, I've been in both. And what you're doing when you focus is that you're literally sending energy and power to whatever you focus on. So I like to remember something very important I learned from Michael Beckwith, like 6 weeks ago, actually. And that is this: people don't get what they want. People get what they're interested in. I'm going to say that again. And I want you to really think about this when it comes to your pain or you feeling stuck or feeling like you're suffering, or just feeling unhappy. Or when you are really happy and you're not feeling those things. People do not get what they want. People get what they're interested in. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. Well, I don't want pain. I'm not interested in pain. I'm not interested in suffering. I'm not interested in being stuck. Where's your focus? If you are focused on your pain and how bad it is, and that's all you're focused on, that's what you're telling your body. That's what you're telling the universe. You're telling everybody with your energy that that's what you're interested in. And so this is not to say that we go to the other side and we completely ignore and act like things aren't there. That's not where we're going either. You're going to find I'm going to mention balance a lot. It comes down to balance. Most of us have been trained so much to think towards the negative, what we don't have, what's wrong, whose fault is this? Whose fault is that? Why is all of this happening to me? We're so focused on this end that a lot of us are not on this other end where we're just like, this actually wasn't too bad. this experience taught me something. What did I learn from it? You know, like I didn't do that for a long time. And I know I'm not alone on that. I have seen that a lot. And so I really want you to take some time to think about what is the main things that hold you back, okay? When it comes to feeling stuck, feeling like you're suffering, feeling like this pain is unbearable, your body, your mind, your body is separate from yourself, your body, yourself, which is like your spirit, and then your mind all give you clues on what needs your attention. One of the things that I had learned was that when I needed to heal from something, every time I was expecting and hoping for someone else to do that for me, I was disappointed every time. Not that they weren't capable per se or that they didn't care. They're just not able to do that. Healing is something that comes from within. Getting unstuck is something that comes from within. And, even if someone can say that thing or do that thing that really inspires you, you notice you have to be the one to go and accept that and let that in. So that way you can go and do something different. It's like that old adage. I don't know if you guys have heard, like you can bring a horse the water, but you can't make it drink. And that's how it is with everything when it comes to healing and when it comes to being happy, So I want you to really take a moment to think about what is really holding you back. What thoughts pop up when you think about healing? Those of you guys who are dealing with a physical illness, like I know a lot of people who have or deal with rheumatoid arthritis, for example. If I told you that you could heal from that there is a possibility that you don't have to be on meds the rest of your life, like what everyone tells you, and that there's a possibility that it doesn't have to get worse. In fact, there's a possibility that you can heal from it and it not be a problem anymore. What's the first thought that comes to your mind? I want you to really think about it and I want you to write it down. Even if you don't write it down in the comments, I highly, highly recommend that you write down notes. Anything that pops up that is like insight, like, ooh, I didn't think about it that way. Or, ooh, that made me uncomfortable. Or, yes. Or any sort of like emotional reaction, any sort of like emotional response, any sort of thought. If you have thoughts that keep repeating in your head, all of these things, I need you to write them down for yourself because they're clues to what needs your attention at some point. So for me, if I heard that phrase, like you can heal from rheumatoid arthritis, like I'd see stories about people who managed to heal and I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And it's snowing in July too, with that same level of sarcasm. Like I didn't believe it because for me, I was told by so many doctors, oh, once you get that, it don't go away. All we can really do is, hope for the best. And then I go to my support groups and what do I hear? Oh my gosh, I am struggling. I am suffering. Like all you can do, this is all you can do. And listen to the energy coming out of my voice too. Because even if they're just typing that, that's the energy that you pick up. So when you have all those like people around you, and then you have people who don't have these kinds of issues, who don't really understand, you see how it's really easy to start to pick up and be like, oh, well, I guess it's too good to be true to really heal from this type of pain or that type of pain, or it's too good to be true, or they must be doing something on the side, like, or they must have a lot of money, they must have paid for some special treatment. You hear what's coming out of my mouth? Those were clues. Like, ooh, those are clues to what my beliefs are. I'm sitting here believing it's not possible to go and heal from my pain, but I want to, but this is what's in my box. This is what I'm choosing to hold on to and see what I like about the whole box analogy is you can take things out. Now, a lot of these things that you have learned from other people and the world, some of which that you're okay with, some are just like, I don't like it. It's not really fully aligned with me and I want to change it. Keep in mind, a lot of these things grew over the course of, for some of y'all, decades. I'm there too. I had been growing patterns and beliefs and thoughts that I didn't really like. It made me feel bad. It made me not like myself for over 20 years. So what you're dealing with basically in this box is kind of like a tree. So, that's one of the reasons why I personally believe children are so resilient. They don't have huge oak trees of bullshit. I'm sorry. I hope I don't offend you. They're not dealing with oak trees of bullshit. Their trees tend to be a lot smaller because they haven't been exposed to them as much. Versus by the time you're an adult, you're literally kind of carrying around big oak trees here on things. And, the oak tree is that like conviction, that belief that is so strong that you literally like it. To even challenge it right now, it can put you into a panic attack. Like it is like, ooh, 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 ooh. Like you can't just pull that oak tree out from the ground, in the Jack and the Beanstalk thing, they didn't just go and be like, swing one time and the beanstalk fell down. You kind of have to chip at it, right? Versus some beliefs that you might have that they might be newer, they might not be as strong, they might be branches on the tree or itty bitty trees. So those are easier to change. So you don't have as much of a resistance with that, right? So I want to do just a little game here with you guys, okay? And so I want you guys to really look around, just look around your room or my room, whichever works. And I want you to pinpoint and count as many things as you can that are brown. Okay, I'm gonna give you like 10 seconds-ish because, 10 seconds-ish. Okay. So count as many brown things as you can see in my room and in your room, right? Okay, so you've counted your things, right? So I want you to close your eyes and I want you to tell me how many red things you see or saw while you were looking for the brown. You didn't see as much red, did you? Because your focus was on finding all of the brown. That doesn't mean that there weren't red things in the room, but that's where your focus was. And thoughts and focus is energy. Tony Robbins said it really well, and I'm gonna repeat it twice. Where focus goes, energy flows. I'm not sure where he learned it from, but I learned it from him, and it's so true. Where focus goes, energy flows. For me, when I started to before I had the rheumatoid arthritis stuff, I started having, very, random pains. Oh, hi, Catrice. Hello. I started to have really random pains. Like they would just come and go, like a sharp pain here, a sharp pain there, right? But it would go away and I'd just forget because my focus was on school at the time. I was in college. I was focusing on, trying to do what I can in therapy because I was healing from a lot of emotional and mental pain at this point. I was trying to come to terms with a lot of things that like my mind, the box did not want to go and deal with right now. Hi, Catrice. But like my soul, like my spirit was like, it's time to really deal with that. So for those of you who are just joining, hello. I forgot to tell you my name. That might be important. My name's Orlea. I'm doing this Rise Above Your Pain challenge here because I really think that the key to really rising above your pain is not taught in school. I'm a nurse. It was not taught in nursing school. And if it wasn't taught in nursing school, which is more holistic, it's not taught in medical school. And I wanted to create a space for us to really start to have these conversations. And so we can really start to jumpstart our own healing journey. One of the things that I found while I was, working through my own healing process and reading and learning about other people's stories who do manage to heal from their pain and get unstuck and stop suffering is that they all went within, which kind of makes sense. But going back to the focus, I was so focused on all these other things going on in my life, I wasn't really paying attention to the signs that my body was trying to tell me through pain, like these random pains that I get. So I ignored it for many, many years. And then as I started to happen more often, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a little young to be having pain here in the joints. I'm a little young to be tired all the time. But then that just became my main focus. All I could think about was I'm tired. I'm tired. I got another sharp pain, and then I started going into a catastrophe kind of mindset. So then the thoughts that started coming in was like, I bet you I got me some sort of autoimmune condition. I knew it was going to happen. And lo and behold, it did happen, but it didn't happen because I intuitively was like, that's what's happening. It happened because that's literally what I told my body to do. Like I focused on that pain in the mind. And the body responds to whatever thoughts, patterns, beliefs are in this box here. They're like pretty and ugly accessories, depending on if you like them or not. And it also responds to the spirit, what's really aligned with you, which is why a lot of times a lot of people feel conflicted so much and they feel stuck because it's like, you learn these things from other people that weren't helpful in this box. But then there's something more. So the next thing that I want to do is to really think about why you're here. And I mean, like, really, why do you want to get unstuck? Why do you want to get to a place where you don't feel like you're suffering anymore? Why do you want to rise above your pain? And I know some people, the obvious answer that they're probably thinking is, I don't want to be in pain. Who wants to be in pain? That is true. That is very true. But I want to emphasize that all of us are so different. All of our backstories are very different. Like our bodies and our stories are literally as different as our fingerprints, right? So the reason why we don't want to feel that pain anymore is not the same for every single person. And that the reason why this is so important is because when you know why, basically, why do you want to live is kind of what it is. What is it that you want to experience? Because when you run into issues or things don't work out, or you're at a place where, maybe you're releasing some pain that you've had stored in your body for years, so it has to float up to the surface. So you're going to feel discomfort and resistance, or you don't have the support that you're wanting to get from somebody, you can still keep going instead of being like, I give up. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing your why, like knowing those like experiences you want to do, not goal. Goals are important. They are important. But when you think about it, like if you imagine yourself down in the like at the end of your life, and you see people, they reflect on their lives, right? Most of them that I have seen, they don't talk about the goals per se that they met. They talk about the experiences that they had. That I've noticed seems to hold more weight. So what is that reason for you? Is it so you can go and have children? that was a big thing for me. And I was on medications that were very toxic during pregnancy. So that was something that I wanted to get, one of my other reasons for wanting to get off my meds, you know. Or, you know, do you want to experience that career that you want? You know, experience that relationship that you want. Maybe you want to be in a different place, you know, financially. You know, maybe you just want to experience happiness, which is good. It takes different forms though. And so I want to really challenge you to think about your true why. I actually made a video already about um, I've already made a video of going through the process that helped me figure out my why. I learned it from Dean Graziosi. Actually, it's called the 7 Levels Deep, and he was put through this process with someone else. But I found it really helpful, where you literally, you're going to ask yourself why and answer it 7 times is the, you know, the overall of it all. And for me, I found that my why for why I wanted to get better was because, one, I never wanted to go as low as I did ever again. Like, I was in the hospital a lot last year, and it not a single time was because of COVID. Most of the time it was because I physically was getting more and more sick. I was getting more and more diagnoses on my list, more and more medications, like, you know, you're the big bucket, to the point where you just don't even want to go over it. You're just like, it hasn't changed, you know. But at the same time, I also found that I was there for mental health stuff too, because I felt so low at some point that I hated my body. I didn't even know what my purpose was for being here anymore. And I don't think anyone deserves to feel like that, you know? So I really want you to think about what your why is and the biggest obstacle for you. I know I've talked about this before, but it's really important. For me, my biggest obstacle was fear. And I think that is for a lot of people. Now, fear is a normal emotion. There's nothing wrong with that. Where fear can become a problem is, again, where's your focus? If you're in a loop of fear and you're never coming out of it, and you're just giving all of your attention to that fear, which is fueling the thoughts that you have about yourself and your life and how you see the world in that box, you know, again, you know, when you try and initially start to fight back with some positive beliefs that you know deep down are true, but you don't have a strong belief in it, it's like it's like this little itty bitty spark of light, but you're dealing with this huge ball of like negativity, so it's like it drowns it out. And so the key that I found to starting to change some of these beliefs that you don't want to hold on anymore, whether it is, I hate my body, whether it is, you know, life's never going to get any better, or like, you know, there is no there is no living life when you have XYZ pain. Those are all beliefs. And one of the things that has helped is throwing doubt in it. If a belief is strong enough, it becomes what is called a conviction. So there are 3 types of beliefs. There's the opinion. Someone having an opinion about something, it doesn't go really deep. You can easily go and change that, right? That's a smaller, like, little itty bitty branches, right? Then there's a belief, which literally is just a sense of certainty. Okay, it's not a thought. The thought can fuel the belief, but it literally is just, you know, a sense of certainty about something. So I am very certain that my life is never going to get better. That's a belief. It comes through in the form of a thought, but that's a belief. That's just a level of certainty. You can change the level of certainty about a lot of these things. And when you start to throw doubt into your negative beliefs. You start questioning things like, is that really true? Is it really possible? Is it really true that my life can never get better? Do I know everything that there is possibly to know right now? Is there a chance that I am tuning things out with the filter that I'm looking through right here? And I'm only seeing all of the negative stuff. Is it possible that that might be altering my thoughts and my beliefs about something because you're looking through a specific lens? And if you can say yes, you just threw doubt and you just weakened a belief. Now, this also works with a conviction, which is, again, like so strong, you're just like, oh my gosh. And the reason why I'm focusing so much on this is because if you have these sort of beliefs about your pain, how in the world are you going to heal? Someone else can't come in and fix that. Hi, Ruby. Even Miss Ruby cannot go and fix that. So just like how we easily go and throw in doubt into positive beliefs, oh, we're real good at that. Many of us are like pros at that. That's what a lot of society teaches, right? Hi, Ruby. But the same thing also works with your negative beliefs and your negative thoughts. But a lot of times we're so distracted with life. We're distracted with appointments, family, like all these other issues that you'd be surprised how many beliefs you have that are actually just, they're hidden. So they're not like at the top in the conscious part of your mind in the box. It's more in the lower level. So you don't realize it, but it permeates everywhere. If you feel like your life's never going to get better, what kind of energy are you putting out when you go and talk to other people? What kind of things does that draw? What kind of situations and circumstances are you encouraging because you're literally telling the universe and your body that I'm focusing on this, so they must want more of that. Your brain and your mind is very useful and very important as a tool, but the way that the mind operates is outdated. Okay, so you are operating with a brain or a mind, I should say, a mind that can't tell the difference between you sitting in your living room and you sitting in front of a mama bear's nest. They can't tell the difference. And the purpose of that mind is to keep you safe, right? And another interesting thing, there are many people who are in unsafe situations, but they believe them to be safe, but they're not actually really safe. So your mind is not there to make you happy. It's to keep you safe, and it likes repetition. So when you start to really figure out, okay, what's really holding me back? What do I want to focus on? What parts of my life really need my attention through all the noise that's going on around you, throughout all the negative news, throughout all of the appointments, throughout the new diagnoses, throughout other people's opinions. All of that stuff is kind of like noise. And one thing I've noticed is when you start to tap into your intuition, which we'll talk about more on day 2, is that your intuition is quieter. It's harder to hear or pick up on throughout all the noise, especially when you're used to being throughout all the noise that's in this box. So I want you to go and look at the thoughts and the beliefs that you have about your life, about your pain, about whatever situation that makes you feel stuck, right? I want you to look at them as accessories. So pick one that you like, okay? It could be like, I like wearing my little bangle, like bracelets. I got my bracelets. I got my necklace. Some people, they might like their stickers, earrings, piercings, something to put in your hair. Something along those lines. Whatever you like to just go and rock, like that is your flair. It doesn't even have to be on your person. It could be like your shoes. It could be like if you like to decorate your car with bumpers. Think of all of these things that and these clues that you're getting about what needs your attention. Think of them as accessories, okay? So you can take them off. They might try and stick on you and come back, but take them off. And then the first thing that you really need to do is just be like, I see you. So I'm like, treat your beliefs and your thoughts and things, you have to treat them like kids. Most of them were installed into you and you learned as a kid growing up. If you think about it, babies are not born feeling embarrassed about anything. They're not born feeling ashamed about anything. They're not born like feeling like they have to guess around, ooh, maybe it's too much for me to ask for this. No, they say what they need and they have no shame. Shame is something that we've learned, and that is a big part of these things. Babies are not born into this world fearing rejection. It's something that we learned. Whether it was intended that way or not, that's what a lot of us learn because we end up learning all these different things that are wrong. So then, even if your parents or your teachers or whoever was close to you, they might have had really good intentions when they were, kind of nudging you in this direction or nudging you in this direction or picking things out that they wanted to go and emphasize to you. That doesn't mean that you don't pick up something different, from that whole situation. And I found from my own personal experience, the clues that I've been getting is that, I held on and stuffed a lot of things that were negative, a lot of things that weren't helpful, a lot of painful memories, a lot of painful experiences. And instead of just letting it out and letting it go, I held on to it. It got stuck as these ugly little trinkets in my mind, right? In the box that is my mind. That's not me. Then I mistakenly thought that that was me. So all these negative things I thought were me, and this stuff isn't even my stuff. I'm just holding on to it. And then all that stuff gets stored in the body because you actually have like 5 different aspects. It's not just your physical body, but again, the physical body is going to respond to what you have and what you're holding on to in this box and what you identify with. So the power of language, that's another big myth that I found to not be true. I was told sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can't hurt. Bold-faced lie. Words have a lot of power. They have a lot of power, and language has a lot of power. And whether you want to admit it or are aware or not, your body is listening to everything you tell it. It's also listening to things that other people tell. But if you have a strong enough belief system about yourself, you're not going to let other people can go and say and do what they want, and it's not going to make you not be okay because you have a strong enough foundation for yourself. So when it comes to dealing with these different beliefs, it's kind of like a tabletop. So I want you to take one belief that may or may not feel like a truth, but it really isn't, that you don't want to hold on to anymore, that's in this box. Take one of those accessories out of that box, okay? And I want you to look at it now as like a table. The way you handle it is going to be similar to how you would handle a child that had the same, thought or belief. So you would handle that with compassion, with love. You would kind of guide them through and you would help encourage them and nurture that. But in terms of just looking at it right now, I want you to look at it like a table. And that belief has to have legs to support it. This is for good and bad. So when you think about some sort of belief that you don't want to hold on to anymore, like my life will never get better, as an example, or it's always going to be this way. Well, why do you feel that way? Now, this is not an academia kind of paper where you have to have like, oh my gosh, concrete evidence. Whatever your whys would be, whatever your reasons are, those are the legs that are supporting that, right? So for me, back in November, I could go like, I feel like my things are never going to get better. I've tried all these different things. I've tried all these medications and they're not working. I'm done so much work in therapy and I'm right back here again and I don't see anything different. Those are my reasons. All three of those legs support this belief. Now, this also can be good for like a very positive kind of belief too. So, why do you feel like things are going to get better? Because I can feel it. I can feel it with my intuition. I am currently feeling better and am more aware of things than I was before. And I've seen other people do it. So if other people can do it, they're no different than me. So I can do it too. You see how, like, depending on whether it's positive, like an empowering versus like shaming and punishing, the process is the same, but the vibe and the energy and the results are going to be totally different. And all it takes to undo either of these beliefs here is to basically kind of sweep, kind of cut through the legs with doubt. So, this is why when you're trying to develop a positive belief, sometimes it's very, very hard to do because all it takes is one doubt. Like, are you sure we really can go and live the life that we want? Can I really get to a point where I'm off all my meds? Like, can I really go and be happy? Did you hear the shift in the energy? Because that was doubt that you heard coming through my voice. Cuts off those legs so they're not as strong. And again, when you have this huge web of like negative, punishing, shaming patterns, okay, these are not you. These are patterns. These are thought loops. These are literally things in a box here. You see how when it's that strong and you've given it power this much for all these years, how it's so easy for the positive stuff to just be weakened and like consumed almost. And it's not like they totally go away, but they don't have a lot of power. And then you're right back into your negative headspace. And like I said, your body, it absorbs and responds to all of this stuff. So whatever you're focused on is going to amplify what you're feeling that lines up with it. So if you're focusing on, oh my gosh, this pain is so bad. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I need this to stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. You're amplifying your pain because that's where you're sending your energy because pain lines up with that kind of thought. You know what I'm saying? It's disempowering. You're giving your power away. You know what I'm saying? Versus, I'm going to get through this. Got this. This isn't comfortable right now, but this is not where I'm going to stay. I would be very surprised if that amplified your pain. For me personally, it dulled down my pain a lot. Now, this is not to say that pain is all in your head, because it's not. By any means of the imagination, okay? Pain is not all in your head. But as I keep repeating, because it's that important, your physical body responds to what is in this box here that we call your mind, and it responds to who you are, your spirit, your essence, the thing that goes with you when you pass on. Your mind don't go with you when you pass on. Your body doesn't go with you when you pass on, but your spirit does. And when you have clashes because the true part of you, your true self is trying to come out and it wants to go and heal, it wants to go and reverse all these things, and you have a box here that has all this stuff that is kind of doing things on its own, which is really more like band-aids, you know? You can run into problems that way. That's where a lot of conflict pops up. So, not that this is all in your head, but you see how powerful one belief can go and just literally can change your entire life for the good and for the bad. When I started changing my beliefs and I started really being like, I see you, like the kid who's trying to sneak behind you, go and get the cookie jar. I see you. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like I noticed that thought. Okay, I see you. I see you. And I will physically go and do that, because what I found is when you go and you just do the thought, like you just think, oh, eh, that is my I am enough alarm. So I guess that was good timing too. You know, if you're just sitting there thinking, you know, like this is going to get better, that has a certain amount of power to it. It has more power when it's like, okay, this is getting better. This is going to be okay. Let me go and relax. Let me focus on my breathing. Your breathing can be a good clue on what's going on too, because if you are not sure exactly what's going on, but your breathing is really chaotic, pretty indicative that you got some sort of chaotic energy going on. It usually stems from some sort of thought or some sort of belief. And so it's one of those things where you really get to play detective with yourself. But if you go and think something and then you go and do something with your body, that's going to catch the attention more so, like, oh, this is different. You know, sometimes when your mind is full of like so much negative type stuff, you're focused on the things that stress you out. You're focused on feeling overwhelmed. You're focused on how bad the pain is. You're focused on how depressed you are looking at that long list of problems in your life right now, you know, or a situation that you're in. When you go and focus like that on those things, and you're dealing with a box that literally has so much power geared towards all the negatives going on right now with you, you let's just say the mind is kind of like, it likes repetition and it likes consistency. So when you come in with that, with the small little, you know, plant the positive thought that you're trying to bloom and grow, right? Sometimes that negative part in the mind is like, yeah, no, we ain't listening to this. No, no, I've squashed enough of these positive beliefs. Like it's just another one of those. Here we go. Like no, we want to stay in the familiar space, even if it's not a happy or a safe space. We want to stay in the familiar space right here. And so sometimes to get that mind's attention, for it to go and stop, you have to treat it just like, you know, you see the kid who's trying to go and sneak around you to go and get the cookies. I see you. But you also have to do it with your body in some way. So when you go and think the thought that you want, you know, you think it in your mind, and then you go and actually do something physically on top of that. So like writing it down while you're thinking it, saying it. You know, I talk with my hands a lot. So those of y'all who talk with your hands, you know, communicating it with your hands, that is what gets your mind's attention to stop and break that cycle a little bit, to be like, ooh, get it to freeze a little bit, you know, and that gives you momentum. So the first step when it comes to dealing with these things and changing, you know, changing your life, changing that unstuck feeling, that suffering, that pain feeling, is to see where you're at, right? So you need to see where you're even at before you can even be like, okay, what am I really dealing with here, right? You know, and then the second step is, okay, I see you, as you start to get clues. So for those of you who just came in, you know, there are clues that you can get as far as what really needs your attention for these uncomfortable feelings and these sufferings and things to go away. There's usually something internally that needs your attention. And when it doesn't get that attention, it's going to reflect it, and it's going to like leak out into your life. So the first thing is, I see you, because a lot of times we're so overwhelmed with life, we don't always know what that belief is. We don't really know what that tree looks like and how deep those roots go. You know what I'm saying? So I see you. Okay, I just had a really negative thought here. Like I just felt like I felt discouraged that things weren't going to be better. Okay, I see you. You take away a lot of power from your negative stuff just by acknowledging it. And let me tell you that acknowledging it is not the same as focusing on it. Because again, it comes back to balance. If you ignore the problem, it's going to build up and it's going to come out one way or another. But if you focus too much on it, you're giving it power. So once you go and be like, okay, I see you, that took away some power from that belief. Then when you go and start throwing doubt at those legs, those various different reasons, and by asking yourself, okay, is it really true? Is it really true that, things are always going to be like this? Do I have every possible piece of information I possibly could? Is there a possibility that life is not going to be like this all the time? Is there just even a little bit of a chance that things can get better? If the answer is yes, you just threw doubt into it. If the answer is no, that is a clue that you are probably dealing with some sort of belief holding you back. If it was a hesitant kind of like it wasn't like a absolutely no, it was more of a no. That's more resistance. That's another clue. If it's just absolutely no, you are likely dealing with a conviction. And like I said earlier in this video, if you're dealing with a conviction, because there are positive and negative convictions that you can have about yourself and about life, your life and your pain. If you're dealing with a conviction, that means you feel so strongly that you will go and literally self-sabotage and sacrifice yourself for it because it's that strong. That means you're dealing with an oak tree level of negative energies and negative beliefs here that have been there for a long time, and it's growing nasty, moldy fruit, basically. So you're not going to be able to just, let's just take it out and go. It don't work that way. So what I want you to do, if you find that you're dealing with a conviction, acknowledge that. But I find that for me personally, I needed to go and get professional support to deal with convictions and be able to move forward. I also want you to know too, because this is another myth that I think is important to talk about. A lot of these things that we think and that we feel about ourselves, we felt this way for a very long time, or we wouldn't have this strong sense of certainty about this thing. Because that's really all a belief is. You're just very certain about, you have a strong sense of certainty about something, which may or may not be true. Okay. And this goes for all areas of your life. It don't even have to be just pain related. But, oh gosh, I actually kind of lost track of where I was going with that. But, yeah. This is how powerful beliefs really can be. So if you're dealing with just like an opinion, okay, that's pretty easy to change on your own, to throw in doubt there. And then once you throw in doubt with that, or a belief that, you might have a little bit of discomfort, but you're not it's not triggering you, basically. Convictions can basically make you feel triggered. And if that's the case, I would go and I would get some extra support with that one, outside of just knowing that it's there. But one of the other big myths that I think is really, really important to talk about is that you don't have to work on this for 50 years. You know what I'm saying? This is not something you have to feel like, oh, I've been dealing with this for 20 years. So it's going to take another 20 years for me to go and undo this oak tree, so to speak, or this belief, or these thoughts that I have about myself or about my pain that I don't want to believe or think anymore. It doesn't have to take that long. I have been dealing with a lot of opinions and thoughts and beliefs about what my life was supposed to look like based on what other people told me for a long time, over 20 years. I've been holding on to painful things in my body for 20 years, and they started to come out as chronic illness. And I used to think Okay, well, shoot it. I mean, it took 20 minutes. I mean, oh gosh, I wish it took 20 minutes. Like, oh my gosh, it took like 20 years of dealing with this. It's going to take another 20 years for me to go and undo this. No, 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 no. It does not have to take that long. There are things that you can do, and a lot of different therapies out there that can really help you have breakthroughs and look at your life and your pain differently so you can change your focus to the things that you do want and build the patterns and habits that you do want and break the ones that you don't in a much faster time than traditionally used to be the thing. And I've actually had personal experience with several of them. So the ones that I personally have experience with, you guys, would be rapid transformational therapy. That one was really helpful, that I'm actually doing now for one of my own convictions. Most of us, when we have thoughts about ourselves or our lives that we don't like, I've yet to find someone who's been an exception to this rule. It usually stems from not feeling like you're enough. You're afraid of being rejected in some sort of way. So, like for me, I struggled with my nursing jobs and I put myself on a limit like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do that. Not because, I had these ailments, but it was actually because if I go and do this again, if I go and try and do this and I don't succeed, I'm going to feel embarrassed, I'm going to feel ashamed, and it's going to be just yet again another reminder that okay, you're not healthy enough to go and do this job. I know I'm not alone on that one. And it makes sense because humans are social creatures. When we are born into this world, we have to connect with somebody in order to get our basic needs met coming out. We have to connect with somebody. And unfortunately, sometimes there are certain parts of those connections that aren't very, healthy. And somewhere along the lines, you come from being born super confident. I speak what my needs are, or cry in this case. Should is not a part of our vocabulary. You learn those languages from people around you who learned the same language and things from the people around them when they were little, who learned the same things from the other people from when they're little. So you don't be surprised if you find that you're actually dealing with a lot of cycles. That you can actually choose to break. And I want you to really give yourself permission to want something different, to want to have those experiences that deep down you want to experience, even if your mind is just like, no, deep down you're like, no, I want that. And I want to encourage you to start telling yourself and giving yourself the things and the words and the encouragement and the praise that you needed that you didn't get from the people around you, or that you're not getting from the people around you. Because a little trick with the box, again, they don't care where it comes from. They just care that it's in the box. So, when that person told you those words, you're like, I'll never forget when they said XYZ. Your mind doesn't care who it came from. Your mind cares, okay, this is what I heard, and this is what I keep hearing. It keeps getting reinforced, so it must be true. And then a belief starts to look like the truth when it's not. So I really encourage you to really start giving yourself permission, because I think that is one of the biggest things that people are not taught to do. We learn to focus on the negative and sit there kind of like we have to go and get things to make us feel better, that happiness lies outside of us. And that's not true. If you look at your life, the various different areas of it, finances, career, your spiritual aspect of your life, your body temple, there are a lot of different areas of your life. Any area of your life that is chaotic or not where you want it to be, that's also a big clue that there's something within you, something within your mind and within you that needs your attention and needs to be addressed. There's a pattern somewhere in there that is getting in the way and slowing stuff down, that needs to be addressed and altered and aligned with what you really want. So like we talked about before, that's why knowing that why is so important, because you are going to have some thoughts and beliefs that are so pervasive, that loop so badly, you feel like, because it's gotten so much power and you're not used to using your own personal power instead, that I'm telling you, you're going to run into a lot of resistance. You're going to run into feeling low or feeling like, oh, like I'm not seeing XYZ. There's a lot of patterns and a lot of accessories in this box right here that is really important to address if you want to see a shift in your pain, see a shift in your suffering, see a shift in these things. I want to give, because I'm actually running a little bit low on time here, and then I actually have some questions that I wanted to address. But I did want to go and say one more thing, and that is, I want you to really focus on also using the power of what if. We're good at using the power of what if for all the negative stuff, the catastrophizing stuff. Well, what if this doesn't work out? Well, what if I don't do this good? What if this falls through? What if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't make my pain better? What if? That's the negative what if. Okay, we're good at using the what if. I want you to practice using this what if in the positive. What if it did work out? What if it did end up going, well? What if I never had this thought to begin with? And I know you're going to hear resistance in the mind. It's like, don't give yourself false hope. That was one of my little icky things. I just took it out and just, what if things do end up going better? What if I never thought that I'm always going to suffer? What would I do differently? Well, if I didn't think that I'd suffer, if I didn't think that things were always going to be this way, well, I'm going to respond to my pain currently that I'm feeling right now way differently than if I thought that to begin with. That's how powerful it is. And then when you go and ask those what if questions, like those positive what ifs, like, what if this really might not be true? I don't like it. So what if there's something off about that? You're strengthening the beliefs and the thoughts that you want, and you're breaking down and weakening the ones that you don't. And that, my friends, is an amazing, good first step. So you don't have to wait on a specific doctor appointment to start doing these things with some of the beliefs that are within your comfort zone to start tackling. You don't have to wait on a specific medication. And I am not against medications. Medications are super helpful. I have needed medications for my problems that I had before. What I find, though, is for a lot of people, when the medications don't work, it's usually because there's something else going on internally, and the medications work on the physical body. They don't really work much with the thoughts. They don't really work with the beliefs. They don't really work with all those other things. That it helps one aspect. And that's how a lot of us medical professionals are trained. We're aware of holistic things, absolutely. It is not infused like I've seen it be infused, like for people who really immerse themselves in it. And, you're more than just a body. You are not your mind at all. You are not your body at all. And you're more than just those two things. But your body's going to respond to all the messages it gets from that box in the mind, and all of the messages that it's getting from, your intuitive, your true self. And so I want you to pay attention to as you go about your day. This is kind of like, I guess, your action step, your homework. As you go about your day, I want you to pay attention to the thoughts that come up, that pop up in your mind. With this challenge, hopefully you guys have been like really writing down insights that you've gotten from this challenge, and also things that popped out. If you have an emotion that keeps popping up, that's a clue to what needs to be addressed in this little box here. Sometimes the beliefs aren't that easy to pinpoint, especially if they got deep roots. We're dealing with that tree. And so I really want you to really focus on awareness. Okay. So picking up all these different feelings. If you have a feeling that keeps popping up or that's really strong, write it down. Even if you don't have the words for it, write it down. You're still telling that part of you in your mind, even if you can't describe it, you're still telling them, I see you. I see you. And they stop. And this is going to be kind of like a muscle that you're practicing, because the thing that I've noticed that really is going to make the difference is you're going to have to break the patterns that are keeping you in pain and build up ones that keep you out of pain. Very not simple thing to achieve, but it's not a huge math equation, and it's going to come down to balance. Okay, so practice just observing and paying attention to these clues without the judgment. So remember what I said earlier today is that you have to treat these things and treat yourself when you're in these headspaces like you would a child, because that's usually where the injury occurred, a younger version of yourself. And so when you deal with these things, if you're going into the judgment mode, if you start hearing or noticing you're saying should a lot, that's shame, that's not empowering. That's not helpful. If you find that you're saying what you want and then you hear a but, I know I can get my life together, but whatever you say after that but, that's a big clue of something that's holding you back, because the but, whatever is after that but, is basically conflicting or negating what you just said. And it's not that you don't believe that you can be better, but it's also showing a conflicting belief here. So, and then also pay attention to the language that you use too. That's another way to be aware of clues too. If you've noticed, I have not said a single time in this entire video that I have rheumatoid arthritis. I don't have it anymore. I used to own that. And when I said that I had it, I'm owning it. And you know what I'm telling my body? Okay, that's what she's focusing on. All right, let's give her more of that stuff. It's discouraging. It's not empowering. I'm literally giving my power away by saying that. So in case you haven't noticed, I've started using dealing with. I'm in the process of dealing with XYZ situation or XYZ, diagnosis or problem. I found a major shift just from changing my language from I have this pain or I have this disease to I'm dealing with it, because it's true. I'm dealing with it right now. So it feels less, I don't feel stuck. I don't know if that makes sense. But you'd be surprised at just your language that you use, like how you say things, how you describe things, the energy behind it too. You'd be surprised how many clues that your body and your mind and your spirit gives you about what internally needs to be addressed, so you can feel balanced again, so you don't feel like you're suffering anymore, so you don't feel like you are stuck, so you don't feel like you're only in pain and you're in such a negative headspace that you're not seeing all of the blessings around you, because they're everywhere. It's a matter of the lens, and this is the first step. Once you start to go and practice doing this more, you're going to start to find that you're going to start to feel more encouraged. You're going to start to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, like I'm getting the hang of this. Like, all right, I noticed that, you know? And you start to build up a strength that you've always had, but that you got used to giving away. So that's what we're going to talk about in day 2. I wish I had more time, but I do want to go and answer a couple of questions. And then after this, for those of you guys who have signed up for the VIP call after this, then I'm going to head on over to Zoom and get that together as well. So one of the first questions that I heard get asked a lot was going over these, how do I put this? I go and actually pull it up so I can read it. That might actually be very helpful. I'd love to know you guys' thoughts though in the comments, even if you end up watching this after the streaming of it all. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on this, because this is not something that we are really taught growing up. I was not taught this in nursing school. I was not taught how potent beliefs are. And from my experience, a lot of the other medical professionals I'm around, they're not taught this either. A lot of people that I see who manage to go and heal, they actually manage to do that by figuring this stuff out on their own, or finding someone else who's been there. But even then, they still have to go and make that decision like, okay, I'm going to go and find some stuff. I'm going to find answers, and I just think it's just really potent. I think that a lot of the modern ailments that we have today, it stems from the beliefs that we're carrying in that box. And that seems to be one of the things that a lot of people that I do see who do manage to heal from their pain and stop suffering, that's what they all have in common. One of the questions that came up to mind for me personally, I don't know if this really relates to for all of you, but one of the questions that I used to have was, why, if this person really managed to heal from this condition, say rheumatoid arthritis, because that was my big thing, a lot of them would, I'm like, well, why is this such a small number? Why isn't this more well known? Like, if this really does work, why is it such a small group? And it goes back to what I said before. We're not taught this stuff. We're not taught this stuff. The people before us, and many of them weren't taught these things. The conversation has not been had. A lot of the things that, are acceptable now that was not acceptable like 60 years ago, how do you think we got to this point? Because people started having the conversation and people started sharing their stories. That is what leads to change. But you don't have to wait for the rest of the world to go and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and change myself. You don't have to wait for the rest of the world to go and embrace ideas that resonate with you, that are authentic to you, for you to start going changing your own life. You'll be old and gray. You may not even be here by the time society gets to that point. It's happening, but it's going to take time. Why wait? So that was one of my big things. And I think part of it too is, again, a lot of people are told and taught that, when it comes, whether it comes to be like trauma or, a physical illness or just being stuck. How many know people who have been taught or who have said to just tough it out? Or some people who even make it look honorable to sit there and suffer when you can do something different. These are patterns, these are cycles, and you can choose to give yourself permission to break out of those cycles. And in that sense, I see those changes coming. And the more people who are starting to share their stories, the more people you really can go and change, if that makes sense. So yes, people can choose to change themselves, but let me tell you, I would not have ever thought it was possible for me to get off of all of my medications I mean all of them, and be symptom free if I had not seen someone else share their story about how they did it. But before I got to that point, I was earlier in the stage where I just had to know I wasn't alone. So everybody is going to need different things at different points of the journey. Everyone's on their own individual journey. But the purpose of today was to really hone in on one, how powerful those beliefs can be, and your energy and your vibes, all of that stuff. Your body is listening to all of that stuff. Whether you say that it's happening or not doesn't change that truth. And that, everyone's journey and the answer to healing is going to be different, but it all is still going to start out with that same awareness that there's something you can do and there's something that's possible. So let's see, what's another question? And then I want to end this off with someone's story, because and this is getting longer than what I initially anticipated here. Okay. That's actually interesting. One of the most common questions that I've heard is, will suffering ever end? And it can. And that's the whole reason why I'm here to go through this challenge with you, is that it can. It starts out with a choice, and then seeing what's possible, and then really working on what it is that you can do. What it really comes down to perception. But even with the perception, you still need to make that choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone can go and give you all the cups of water in the world. If you're not in a headspace where you see it, or you don't think it's going to help, or you don't even know it's there, or you don't know it's going to help with that thirst that you're dealing with, are you going to choose to drink it? People can't go and open you up and force that down you. It starts out with that choice to give yourself permission to let in the things that you want and let go of the things that you don't. And your mind's going to fight you on it. It is going to fight you on it, because it's designed to keep things familiar. But you can create a brand new familiar. You can go and create a brand new habit and patterns, brand new thoughts that you like about yourself, habits that you like about yourself, doing things not because you've always done it, but doing things because you want to honor yourself. And by doing so, you're honoring the people around you. The people around you that you care about deserve your best version of you. And that is not someone who is sitting there, feeling powerless about everything and not doing anything to try and make their lives better. I think a lot of us have been taught that. And so I'm like, really, really important there. So that was a big question that kept coming up. And that's really where the suffering stems from, is those patterns, those beliefs, the things that you choose to let in your filter and let out, So, with that said, last thing, I will include all of these links in the, I guess, the comments. I've never actually done one of these live streams on YouTube, so I'm like, we will go and figure this out. But there is a lady, since I'm a former rheumatoid arthritis person and a rheumatology nurse. I happened to see a talk by a lady called Megan McNeely, and I'll include her website in here. It's really, really inspiring. I happened to find her after I had healed from my ailments, but I still think it's super helpful. She got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and actually ended up developing kidney cancer at some point. And she was successful in all these different areas, but her health. And she felt so stuck. Like she's trying all these different treatments, all these different medications. And she's like, it's not, it's like, what's going on? Like, why is this getting worse and worse and worse? And she discovered, which is basically what I discovered, but in her own style, that well-being is the key. And she actually taught me that wealth, like being wealthy, it's actually not a monetary thing. Wealthy actually equals well-being, which is why you see stories about people who have a lot of monetary stuff, but they're still super sick and they're miserable. They don't have well-being, so they're not wealthy. And then likewise, people who don't have millions of dollars in the bank account, but they're still wealthy because they have well-being. That is all you really have, And so she found her own personal style using the mind, body, spirit, kind of pathway that I found that helped me. The thing that you're going to find is that everyone, like having a different blueprint, everyone's like path to healing is going to look different. So that's why you might see some people where this specific diet worked wonders for them and it didn't really work that well for somebody else. You really have to figure out your own style. But it's nice to see someone who, again, proved that it was possible. She managed to heal herself from kidney cancer. How many people are told that once you have cancer, that it's like, oh, same with an autoimmune condition, because they're both immune system issues. They just do it in different ways, or people with PTSD, really think about that. She created what's called the Wellbeing Wheel, and I think it's a wonderful resource. Again, I wish I had found her sooner, but I'm glad I found her when I did. Because it really helped prove to me like, okay, this process that worked for me, it doesn't just work for me, it worked for her. And then I'm talking and I find other people, oh, it worked for them too. Oh, it worked for them too. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to figure out this whole comment thing, and I am going to go and add in her website if you're interested in reading her story. Those of you who are on the VIP access, we're going to be going and heading on over to the Zoom call in about 15-ish minutes. For those of you who are interested in having your own specific questions answered and joining me on this private Zoom call, again, we're doing this at the end of every single live stream this week, so you get all 5. And there will be pre-recorded, so you have access to it. I will include the link if you're interested to go and upgrade to VIP. It's available for you. Other than that, I hope this was very valuable for you guys. I hope that there was something that you took away from this first day of the challenge. Okay, so like day 2, remember we are heading into strengths, connecting into intuition. Today, I want you to focus on paying attention to the thoughts that you're thinking, the feelings that you're feeling. Pay attention to the different clues as far as what is really needing your attention in this mind box here that you have, that you are not identifying as, you just have. And I want you to take one belief that you're comfortable with, that you're comfortable with dealing with, that you don't want anymore. And I want you to really question it. And then I want you to come up with a new belief to replace that old one, and come up with a couple of reasons as to why that belief that you want is true. So you're taking power away from the negative beliefs you don't want, and you're giving power to the ones that you do. All right. With that said, again, I see you, I hear you, and I honor you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And some of you, I'll see you guys in like 15 minutes. All right. Bye.